Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt something was off before anyone even spoke? Or maybe you can tell when someone is lying, not because of what they say, but because of the strange hesitation in their voice. Sometimes you feel someone's sadness before they notice it themselves. Sometimes you sense tension in the air like a sudden shift in weather. And sometimes you just know a person isn't being genuine, even though everyone else thinks they're perfectly charming. Most people don't notice these things. They say you're too sensitive, too reactive, or overthinking. But Carl Jung saw it differently. Jung believed that people are driven by 4 core psychological functions: sensing, intuition, thinking, and feeling, each shaping how we understand the world. And the people who resonate with these experiences, the people who feel atmosphere, sense invisible shifts, pick up on emotional truth, often have one rare dominant function: intuition. Not fantasy, not imagination, but a heightened perception of underlying meaning, a direct line to the unconscious. According to Jung, spiritual intelligence doesn't announce itself dramatically. It shows up quietly through subtle, unusual habits you've probably had your whole life, the ones others call strange, overly emotional, or too much. But these habits are not flaws. They're signs that you're tuned in at a deeper level than most people ever reach. So here are 15 weird habits that are actually signs of high spiritual intelligence. If you recognize even a few, you're not odd, you're gifted. Let's start. 1. You have a habit of reading people before they speak, automatically, instantly, and almost against your will. You do something most people don't even realize is possible. You read emotional truth before words have a chance to cover it. It's not a skill you learned. It's a habit your mind performs every time you interact with someone. When a person starts talking, you aren't listening to their sentences first. You're already decoding the emotional layer beneath them. You feel disappointment hiding behind a cheerful tone. You sense irritation covered with humor. You perceive insecurity wrapped in charisma. You detect resentment sitting quietly behind "it's fine." And you don't do this through logic. Your body reacts first. A tightening in your chest, a micro drop in your energy, a subtle shift in the air. That's your emotional radar picking up what someone else is trying to hide. While other people pay attention to explanations, excuses, and storytelling, you read the micro expressions, the pauses, the tone shifts, the tiny fluctuations in posture. It's why you distrust people whose friendliness feels rehearsed, sense a friend's hidden sadness even if they smile through it, feel discomfort between 2 people who pretend nothing's wrong, know when someone is holding back a truth they're not ready to say. This habit makes emotional dishonesty louder than honesty. So when something feels off, it hits you deeply, far more intensely than you wish it did. Here's the painful part. Most people don't sense any of this. So when you react to the invisible, they think you're too sensitive, reading into things, or imagining problems. And their dismissal makes you feel like the odd one out. But when you start trusting yourself, especially after life repeatedly confirms your instincts, this habit becomes a form of clarity. What once felt like a burden becomes guidance. You're not misreading anything. You're simply perceiving the emotional script everyone else ignores. You read the air, not the words. 2. You have a habit of following tiny internal nudges that make no sense until they suddenly do. You don't just get intuition, you follow it in the smallest, strangest, most everyday ways. This is a habit that happens on autopilot. You pause before leaving the house for no clear reason. You take a different route without thinking. You text someone at the perfect moment without knowing why. You avoid a place or a conversation because something in your body whispers, "Not today." Most people ignore impulses like these, but for you, these micro signals feel like gentle taps on your shoulder, subtle direction from somewhere deeper inside. You've experienced it countless times. Canceling plans because something feels off. Meeting someone and instantly knowing if you can trust them. Checking on a friend at the exact moment they need support. Sensing danger before you see it. Feeling drawn toward something long before you understand why. These nudges aren't random. They're the unconscious feeding you early information your rational mind hasn't processed yet. But here's where it hurts. People who lack intuition often mock or doubt yours. They call it coincidence, overthinking, or irrational fear. And every time someone dismisses your inner signal, you end up questioning yourself. Yet, the more these impulses prove themselves true, the more you stop apologizing for them. You stop asking for permission to trust your own perception. You stop needing others to validate what you already know in your bones. This habit isn't superstition. It's advanced pattern recognition working faster than conscious thought. Your intuition isn't magic. It's early access to reality. 3. You have a habit of running inner conversations, real dialogues, to navigate your life. You don't just think. You talk inside your mind in full, structured, shockingly insightful conversations. This isn't daydreaming. This isn't random chatter. This is a habit that has guided you through life far more than the outside world realizes. You speak with your younger self when you're scared. You consult your wiser self when you're unsure. You negotiate with your inner critic when it gets too loud. You ask your intuition questions and actually wait for a reply. You comfort your hurt parts. You reason with your fearful parts. You listen to the quiet, steady presence inside you that feels like truth. Most people avoid their inner world, but your psyche naturally opens a dialogue. You don't shut down overwhelming emotions. You interview them. You don't silence intrusive thoughts. You decode them. You don't avoid discomfort. You invite it to talk. You don't reject the wounded child inside. You sit with them. This deep internal communication used to make you feel strange. Maybe you even tried to hide it, because when you've casually mentioned it, others have reacted with confusion, discomfort, or judgment, enough to make you wonder if you're too much. But Jung called this inner dialogue active imagination, one of the highest forms of psychological integration. The more you engage with these inner figures, the more they evolve into a supportive internal network. They become your guidance system, especially during moments when no one else understands you. You're not chaotic. You're not fragmented. You're highly integrated, far more than most people ever become. You don't think. You hold counsel within. 4. You automatically scan the room for emotional temperature. One of your strangest habits is something you probably didn't even know you were doing. Whenever you walk into a room, your mind instantly starts scanning the emotional atmosphere, like checking the temperature, but with feelings instead of weather. You don't stand there and analyze on purpose. It happens in seconds, involuntarily, almost like a reflex. You notice who looks uncomfortable, who is pretending to be fine, who is irritated but hiding it, whose energy suddenly dropped even though their face hasn't moved. This habit makes you feel the whole room in your body before anyone even speaks. Most people scan for chairs, exits, or familiar faces. You scan for emotional truth, and yes, this can hurt. If someone's mood shifts even slightly, your whole system picks it up and you may feel anxious, sad, or heavy without knowing why. It's painful when others dismiss it with, "You're imagining things." But when you learn to recognize that this is a habit, not a flaw, you stop feeling overwhelmed and start feeling empowered, because this habit gives you the invisible information everyone else misses. Your instinct isn't paranoia, it's pattern detection. 5. You test people subtly without even realizing it. You have a quiet, unconscious habit that surprises people who don't think on your level. When you meet someone new, you instinctively test them, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply intuitive one. You might ask a slightly deeper question than normal. You might share a small truth about yourself and watch how they react. You might stay silent to see if they fill the space honestly or perform for approval. You might pretend not to know something just to observe their intentions. You don't do this on purpose. It's a natural instinct to see who's genuine and who's wearing a mask. Most people think you're just being polite or shy. They don't realize you're running an entire intuitive evaluation behind the scenes. And the painful part? If someone fails that test, if their smile feels wrong or their energy feels slippery, you can't unfeel it. Even when others praise them, your intuition keeps its distance. But when someone passes your inner test, when their energy feels real, you relax instantly. Your whole nervous system exhales. This habit isn't judgment, it's self-protection and deep spiritual intelligence. You don't judge people, you read them. 6. You change your behavior the moment you sense a coming shift. You have a habit of adjusting your actions before anything happens. You cancel plans without knowing why. You check on someone at the exact moment they need it. You reorganize your day out of nowhere. You prepare for something before there is any logical reason to prepare. It looks random, it looks impulsive, but it's not. It's your psyche reacting to information your conscious mind hasn't decoded yet. People say, "Why did you suddenly do that?" And you genuinely don't know how to explain it. You just felt something. The painful part is that this habit sometimes makes you doubt yourself. You worry you're being dramatic or irrational, but then the moment arrives. The conflict you sensed happens. The opportunity you prepared for appears. The person you checked on reveals they needed help, and suddenly, your weird behavior makes perfect sense. With time, this habit becomes less frightening and more guiding. When you honor it, it becomes one of your greatest strengths. Your instincts move before the world does. 7. You physically can't fake emotions, so you withdraw to avoid. Lying, one of your strangest, most misunderstood habits, is your tendency to quietly step away when you're upset, uncomfortable, or overwhelmed. You don't withdraw because you're cold. You withdraw because you literally cannot pretend. Your face gives you away. Your energy gives you away. Your micro-expressions betray every emotion you're trying to suppress. So instead of forcing a smile, which your body refuses to cooperate with, you remove yourself from the situation to avoid being inauthentic. People sometimes see this as distancing or overreacting, but for you, it's simply the only way to stay aligned with your inner truth. The painful part? You may feel guilty for stepping away as if you're disappointing people, but the deeper truth is this: your withdrawal is emotional honesty. It's your psyche saying, "Let me recalibrate so I don't lie to anyone, including myself." Once you embrace this habit instead of fighting it, it becomes a form of inner clarity, not fragility. You don't shut down, you realign. 8. You have a habit of quietly detaching the moment. A relationship stops matching your growth. This one is subtle, and most people don't realize they're doing it until much later. Whenever a friendship, connection, or relationship stops resonating with who you're becoming, you begin to detach. Not dramatically, not angrily, but quietly, almost softly. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop forcing conversations. You stop pretending the bond is still alive. You stop giving emotional energy to a space where your intuition feels the door closing. It's not that you stop caring, it's that you start letting go without making a scene. This habit used to make you feel guilty. You wondered if you were running away. You feared people would see you as inconsistent or cold. But spiritually intelligent people grow in cycles, and each cycle naturally sheds relationships that belong to earlier versions of you. The pain comes when others don't understand why you're pulling back. They think something is wrong, but deep inside, you know the truth. Your intuition has already moved on. The resolution is recognizing that this habit isn't abandonment, it's alignment. It's your soul protecting your future. You don't drift, you evolve. 9. You have a habit of absorbing people's moods. So fast, it feels like they become your own. You don't just notice emotions, you absorb them. It's not empathy the way most people understand it. It's not feeling bad because someone feels bad. It's more like your emotional field opens before you can stop it, and suddenly what they feel lives inside your body. A friend walks into the room with quiet sadness, and your chest tightens before you even ask what's wrong. A stranger is tense behind you in line, and you feel an unexplained pressure in your stomach. Someone hides anger behind politeness, and you feel your pulse shift as if you're holding their frustration for them. This isn't imagination. It's a habit your psyche does automatically, matching emotional frequencies to decode truth. But here's the painful part. When you absorb too much, you don't always know where you end and someone else begins. You go home exhausted and can't explain why. You feel heavy without a reason. You sense a storm that doesn't belong to you. And when you try to describe it, people dismiss it as being dramatic or taking things too personally. But when you start slowing down and checking in, when did this feeling start? Whose emotion is this actually? You realize something powerful. Your sensitivity isn't consuming you. It's informing you. You're not overwhelmed because you're weak. You're overwhelmed because you're receptive. Once you learn to separate your emotional truth from someone else's, this strange habit becomes a superpower. the ability to read the emotional landscape with clarity others can't even fathom. You don't absorb moods, you translate them. 10. You have a habit of making meaning out of the smallest things, even when no one else sees anything. There, you don't live life on the surface. You live in layers, symbols, patterns, metaphors. Most people see a coincidence. You see a message. Most people forget their dreams. You replay them like films. Most people overlook recurring numbers, repeated phrases, déjà vu moments. You treat them like breadcrumbs from your unconscious. This isn't superstition. It's a habit, a genuine psychological tendency to search for deeper meaning in ordinary experiences. You notice the symbolism in someone's choice of words. You read emotional intent behind the timing of events. You pick up on patterns repeating in your relationships. You interpret shifts in your own intuition like you're decoding a personal myth. And while others brush it off, saying, "Not everything needs to mean something," you feel the truth vibrating underneath. For you, everything does mean something. The painful part? People might roll their eyes, call you dramatic, mystical, or too deep, and for a moment, you doubt yourself. You wonder if maybe you're reaching, but then a pattern you sensed months ago finally reveals itself. A dream you wrote down suddenly aligns with reality. A symbol you noticed becomes the key to understanding a situation. And in that moment, you realize you weren't inventing meaning. You were catching it early. Your mind doesn't obsess, it organizes. You don't imagine symbolism, you perceive it. 11. You have a habit of completely reinventing yourself without warning, like your soul hits refresh. You don't cling to old identities. You shed them, not slowly, not gently, but suddenly, in a moment of clarity, discomfort, or inner shift that others can't see coming. One day you're in a job, a friendship, a belief system, a version of yourself. And then something in you whispers, "This is over," and you begin to transform. You cut your hair, you change your routines, you update your values, you end connections that once felt essential, you rearrange your space, you decide you're done being the person you were yesterday. Most people fear change, you crave it when it's aligned, and the strange part, you rarely announce it, you just start moving differently, internally first, externally later. But here's the painful side, people around you often take it personally. They think you're being impulsive, inconsistent, dramatic, or unreliable. They don't understand that this isn't chaos, it's evolution. Your psyche doesn't transform slowly like everyone else's. It transforms in leaps, in intuitive jumps, in inner breakthroughs, in sudden realizations that demand action. And when you honor these inner shifts, even when others don't understand, you begin to see something sacred. Your changes aren't random. They're invitations. Invitations to rise, to shed, to grow, to become. You don't reinvent yourself because you're lost. You reinvent yourself because you're found. 12. You have a habit of feeling energetic clutter and cleaning it before you can relax. You do something strange that almost no one talks about. You sense when a space feels energetically messy long before anyone else notices. You walk into a room and instantly feel the emotional residue. Yesterday's argument, someone's anxiety lingering in the air, the heaviness from a tense discussion that happened hours ago. Most people sit down and move on with their day. You can't. Your body won't let you. You start rearranging objects, opening a window, lighting a candle, clearing a surface, moving pillows, putting things back where they belong, not because you're obsessive, but because you're responding to an invisible atmosphere that feels disorganized, clogged, or emotionally stale. The painful part, others think you're being dramatic or picky. It's fine. Why are you fussing? You're overreacting. But for you, the energy of a space affects your entire nervous system. You can't think until the room is aligned. You can't rest until the air feels clean. You can't settle until the emotional static clears. And once you finally restore the space, once the energy softens, lightens, breathes, your inner world exhales with it. This isn't tidying, it's attunement. You're not cleaning the room, you're clearing the field. 13. You have a habit of sensing the real reason behind someone's actions, even when they don't know it themselves. You've done this your whole life, and it has confused people since childhood. When someone lashes out, you instantly feel the wound behind their anger. When someone brags, you sense the insecurity underneath. When someone disappears, you feel the fear they couldn't name. When someone over-explains, you detect the guilt they're hiding. People tell you their surface story, but you hear the real story, the soft, vulnerable truth beneath the armored one. And here's the wild part. You often understand someone's motive before they do. You see the childhood pattern repeating. You feel the unresolved emotion driving their behavior. You sense the internal conflict they haven't articulated yet. This habit can be painful. You walk through life seeing people clearly, even when they're not ready to be seen. It can feel lonely, even startling, because you're carrying truths others aren't ready to acknowledge. But when you learn not to confront, not to expose, but simply to hold awareness gently, this habit becomes a gift. You understand people at the level they wish someone would understand them. You don't see what they show, you see what they mean. 14. You have a habit of feeling called to withdraw from the world, as if your soul is recharging itself. Every once in a while, you disappear, not dramatically, not intentionally, but instinctively, like a tide pulling back from the shore. Your mind becomes quieter, your social energy drops, your desire to explain yourself vanishes, you stop responding instantly, you crave solitude without knowing why. Most people call this moodiness. You know it's something deeper. It's your psyche calling you inward, a natural cycle of spiritual recalibration. During these periods, you're not avoiding life. You're digesting it. You're integrating insights, shedding heavy emotions, releasing old identities, and preparing for the version of you that's about to emerge. The painful part? People misinterpret your withdrawal as distance, rejection, or disinterest. They fear they did something wrong. They pressure you to come back. But when you honor this inner retreat, you re-emerge clearer, stronger, more aligned. Your disappearance isn't an exit, it's an upgrade. You're not avoiding the world, you're tuning your soul. 15. You have a habit of getting downloads during ordinary moments, insight, surges that change. Everything, your biggest realizations rarely come during deep conversations or serious thinking. They hit you in the middle of something simple: washing dishes, showering, walking, daydreaming, folding clothes. Suddenly, an idea drops into your awareness so cleanly, so fully formed, so obvious that it feels like it came from somewhere beyond your conscious mind. You stop what you're doing, you breathe differently, your chest opens, your vision sharpens, your entire inner world reorients itself around the insight. It feels like a message, not from outside, but from the deepest part of you. Most people think insights come from intense thinking. Yours come from quiet receiving. The painful part? These downloads can feel too big, too fast, too intense, like holding lightning in your hands. It can overwhelm you when no one around you experiences moments like this. But when you learn to trust them, to write them down, to let them unfold at their own pace, these moments become your greatest compass. They're not imagination, they're integration. You don't chase clarity, you channel it. If you saw yourself in these habits, even in just a few, take a breath and let this land. You are not a deep feeler in a shallow world. You are someone whose inner life is fully awake. All those moments where you thought, why do I sense things no one else notices? Or why do I feel so much when everyone else feels nothing? Were never signs of overthinking. They were signs of intelligence, a rare kind that operates beneath words and beyond logic. Your sensitivity, your intuition, your emotional precision, these are not cracks. They are openings, channels, abilities most people go their entire lives without ever touching. And yes, every strength casts a shadow. Every gift has a cost. So tell me, which of your habits has been your greatest protector, and which one has been your greatest challenge? The one that overwhelms you, stretches you, or makes you feel alone? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the exact confirmation someone else has been waiting for their entire life. And if this video spoke to you, like it, subscribe, and share it, so more people can finally understand that their depth is not a flaw, but a superpower waiting to be claimed. Thank you for being here. You're not just watching this journey, you're living it. See you in the next video.